Hey, what's going on, guys? So today we have a little classic. Well, not little at all. We have a Victorinox SwissChamp. So I thought I'd break out the old school Victorinox here just to go over it. Maybe some newer viewers, newer people to the knife scene never saw something like this before. I mean, most people are familiar with Swiss Army knives, but usually you don't see too many people carrying the big ones. I actually did EDC this for 2 days. I recently got this one in trade. I've had a SwissChamp before. I've had a red one, but this one came up as an offer, and I took the offer. So, I mean, it's a classic. This particular model has 33 different tools / functions if you used everything in it. Some tools, obviously, you're going to use more than others, like maybe the knife blade. But it's just really cool. So I wanted to go over it with you guys, in case you never saw it before. The only thing I have to mention is that it is missing one tool. There's a corkscrew on the side, which obviously is used to, take corks out of bottles. But this originally had a specialized tool. It's a micro flathead screwdriver, and the handle of the screwdriver was shaped kind of like the cork. So you would screw this into the corkscrew, and that's how you would store it, all right, inside the knife. That, unfortunately, is missing. There is a parts kit. I mean, you could probably buy just that piece somewhere, maybe directly from Victorinox for $5 or $10, whatever it would be. But I was always interested. There was a parts kit. I want to say it was like $75 or so, and it was kind of like a clear, tackle box looking thing, and it just had like split rings and extra toothpicks and tweezers and, tools like that, like the pens, So when you have Victorinox models and they're missing parts, you just go to your parts kit. I can't justify getting that. I mean, back in the day it was $75. Who knows if it's more today, but it's just like I always wanted it, but I didn't have enough models to justify it. If you were collecting a lot of different models, it maybe makes sense. But anyway, maybe I'll replace it, maybe I won't. It's not the end of the world. This does have multiple different screwdrivers in it, just not one, exactly that small. So let's start on the back. Obviously, just showed you the corkscrew here. All right, besides that, we have our little wood chisel. All right, so this is sharpened on the end there. All right, and that's how they're selling it, as a wood chisel. I never actually used this tool on the old one I had, but it's there in case you need it. You can also use it as a little micro scraper, I suppose. If you had something, let's say it had some sticker residue or something on a piece of glass, you could probably use that piece to just, kind of lift that up a little bit or start a sticker. That might be a good purpose for that if you don't need a tiny wood chisel. But anyway, so next we have the fine screwdriver. So this is basically just a small flathead. All right. Then, let's see. We have our parcel hook. This is one I've actually used before. And so, I mean, they call this a parcel hook. Essentially, you use the entire knife as a handle, and then the hook would go into, traditionally, you'd have, like, let's say a stack of newspapers, and there'd be twine. A crisscross piece of twine that ties them together. So you would just hook the twine and carry, just like this, like a handle, the whole stack of newspapers. That's traditionally how it's used. I don't have a need for that, nor do I come across stacks of newspapers with twine. But I have used this to carry different things, but purely out of novelty, not because I really need to. But that's what that is, in case you didn't know. All right, let's see. What else we have in the back here? We have, I believe, our little reamer. Right, and again, this one's used. I do have to clean this up, but yeah, this is our reamer. All right, so we have a little hole there. If you wanted to put some kind of thread or something, you can use that to rudimentarily push through a piece of material. But this is sharpened on the edge. This is very good for actually opening up new holes on a belt. Let's say if you have a traditional leather belt, and let's say you're losing some weight and you need an extra hole to make it even tighter. You can use that, and you can, punch a hole through the leather. So, little versatile tool though. And, a lot of these tools, they're designed for a specific purpose, but oftentimes people will use them for random things. Let's say you want to scrape something. You just need the right type, shape piece of metal. Oftentimes that happens. So I think that's it for the back here. And then, of course, we do have our split ring. So we can put a lanyard on here, or I dare you put keys on here. If you carried only like 2 house keys or something, you can get away with that. This could be your keychain, essentially. Just have 2 keys hooked on there. But Anyway, before we get into all the regular tools, we're going to look on the outside. So on this model, we do have the tweezers on one side. All right, very traditional. On the other side, we do have our toothpick, also very traditional. But we also have a third tool that's not so traditional. It's usually on the bigger models, and that is a ballpoint pen, all right, which is very nice. All right. So now on to the main side with all the goodies, right? Starting on the end here, we have our combination larger flathead screwdriver as well as a can opener, and then this little hook, or not really hook, that little cutout or notch in there is supposed to be a wire stripper. All right, on the other side, we have our can opener, as well as, again, another flathead screwdriver on top. This is sharpened, all right, so it does work very well, the manual can opener. Then we have our Phillips head screwdriver. Pop that out, all right, which does work very well. And this is, I don't know offhand the size of Phillips, but it is a larger Phillips. A lot of times when you have different multi-tools, you have little fine Phillips head screwdrivers that don't work well with larger screws. Obviously, you want to have enough to grab on. It's very easy to strip a screw, especially a Phillips head screw, if you're not using the proper size. So it is nice to you know, have a larger one on this tool. All right, close that guy. Then we get into, this is a little bit more unique, that this one has the magnifying glass. All right, and this does work very, very well to magnify. All right, so I actually do use this for coins. As you guys, some of you know, I do, you know, collect and look through coins. So while Edie's saying this, that was the first thing I did. I literally got change from purchasing something, and I was looking at my my quarters, and the 1 quarter was known for you know, errors. So I just whipped out my SwissChamp because I knew there was a magnifying glass on there and checked it out. And it turns out it was not one of the errors, but it was hard to see with naked eye. So that tool actually came in handy. Then we have our pliers, which is very nice. I mean, they're small overall. If you talk about plier dedicated multi-tools, like, you know, some leather bins and things of that nature, the plier is the main tool, right? This is not necessarily the main tool. It is smaller on scale than those type pliers, but it is handy. You can open those jaws up a little bit more if you wanted to as well. All right, there's a spring, so it obviously is spring loaded. Technically, they say this is a wire cutter in the bottom of the jaws. Obviously, this is all the way open, so you're limited to a certain smaller gauge and down, but that is your wire cutter, and on the bottom is a wire crimper. All right, so it is there. Like I said, it is nice to have the option. Then, of course, one of the most used on my Victorinox knives is the scissors. These are also spring-loaded. These are a little sticky, so I have to clean them up, a little goopy in there. But yeah, the scissors actually come in handy quite a bit. All right, then we have our fisherman's tool. Now, the fisherman's tool is one thing that I've actually used before. This is, it's actually 3 different things. Obviously, we have a small ruler on there, right, that goes to just under 3 inches. Then we have the fish scaler. I've never actually used this in any of my Victorinox tools to scale a fish. I've scaled a fish one time in my life, and I used a dedicated scaling tool. So I don't know how well these work. Please comment below if you happen to fish a lot and you do, you know, catch and eat your catch and you scale the fish, if this particular tool works well for that. I've never tried myself. But what I have used multiple times is this notch in the front is to remove hooks. So let's say, you know, you catch your bass or whatever fish you're fishing for, and it kind of like swallowed that hook. You can use this, which is really, really nice and actually works very well, and you push down on the end of that hook so you can pop it out. All right, so if you happen to carry a Victorinox that has this tool and you didn't know that, that is super, super handy. Sometimes, again, if you have especially if you have like a treble hook or something and they gut swallow it, like they, you know, it goes really deep down into their throat, it becomes very difficult to get out. In certain cases, like with bass, largemouth bass, you can come in through the gills if you're very, very careful. If it's that low, you know, obviously you don't want to damage the gills, but you can come in from a different angle there to pop those hooks out. But in general, like I don't really fish treble hooks anymore, except for on some poppers, but even then I only use one. So, you know, I'm catch and release 99.999% of the time. So I don't want to damage the fish. I'm doing it for fun. It's for entertainment, but I want to catch the fish and release it with as minimal damage as possible. So that's why a tool like this does come in handy. So yeah, that is our little fish tool. Then we have, of course, our wood saw, which works very, very well. If you've never actually used these, they're phenomenal. You can cut small branches very cleanly if you're doing some kind of project. Generally speaking, the size branches that you're gonna actually saw through, you can probably snap off. You know, if you're talking about branches like that, you could break that off manually, but if you need a clean edge, the saw is very good for that. Things like, let's say, up to maybe 1.5 to 2 inches in diameter, that's where this really shines, because those are a little bit too thick to break easily. So you're gonna struggle trying to break them off the tree, especially if the wood's not rotten or anything. But you can still saw through something of that size with this saw. So it actually does come in handy. All right, sorry about that. My battery was really low there and blinking. So we're back with a fresh battery. So where are we? We're at the saw, right? Or excuse me, file. So this is actually has a purpose. Every side of it has a purpose. So the very tip is a nail cleaner tool. So this is what gets into the nails, which is actually really helpful. It works very well for that. On this side, we have just the straight striations, and that is a metal file. On the other side, the crisscross is a nail file, and on the edge is actually a metal saw. All right, so if you need to cut very soft metal, that does work well with the fine teeth. All right, then we have our main blade. Whoops, nail nicks on this side. All right, main blade, which you guys are all familiar with, right? It is nice that the main blade is all the way on this side as opposed to this side, just because naturally when you're cutting, it's just nice that it's closer to your pointer finger. It's a little bit more intuitive than if it was way out here. But then we have our little file, or excuse me, our little knife, which is the opposite. All right, so now it's all the way on the left side by your thumb. Just when I'm cutting things, like I said, it's a little more intuitive when it's at the back part of the knife here, as opposed to up front, especially just on the wider ones. But maybe that's just personal preference. But they both, you know, they work totally fine. Sometimes it's nice to keep the small blade completely unused. I've done that before. That's generally what I do. Because when I cut something, I just take out the main blade. But as that gets a little bit dull, let's say you're out in the field, you're out doing something, whatever, you do need that extra sharp blade for a clean cut. Then you can rely on your secondary smaller blade for that, right? And then when you have a chance, obviously, you sharpen up your main blade. And I think that is it. Now, I've shown this in a video before. I did not add it to this one. However, if you zoom in, you open your corkscrew, you see that little hole right there? That's where you can place a pin, all right? A flathead pin. All right, so it's very, very nice. Those are fantastic for getting into splinters and things like that, or who knows what, maybe you know, killing a tick or something. But yeah, that's always a good addition. I just forgot to do it with this one because I just got it. So that is that's it. That is the Victorinox SwissChamp. Like I said, total classic. Little bit of a hunk in your pocket there, but because they're wider, they do generally sit flat against you. It's not like, you know, I mean, if you just have regular large pockets with nothing else in them, yeah, it'll float around and bounce around and stuff. But you know, you can always slip these in different organizers and different pouches on bags and stuff. Or this is something you might want to just leave in the glove box of your car, you know, or the center console. It's just a fantastic tool. It's been around many, many years, decades now, and it works very, very well. As far as price on these, brand new, expect to pay anywhere from $100 to $115. I think it's $115 direct as well, but you'll find that on a lot of dealer sites, like, you know, BladeHQ, Knife Center, places like that. They'll probably be just over $100, somewhere in that range. And then, of course, you know, if you don't mind them being used like me, you can hop on eBay. You could probably find this more in the, you know, $50 to $75 range when they're well used. And as long as nothing's broken, you get them in the mail, you clean them up, you wipe off all the glue residue, because they usually have it all over there, and you sharpen the blades, and you're pretty much good to go. So anyway, let me know down in the comment section, do you EDC a Victorinox model? And if so, which one? And more specifically, does anyone out there actually carry a SwissChamp? Like I said, carried this twice, loved it, it worked fine. I just like rotating through different things, but it's not my go-to. I definitely prefer a modern, you know, medium to large size pocket clip on a regular folder, right? Something I can just clip to my pocket. It stays very stable. It's not actually taking up pocket space. And it comes out, it opens quickly, I make my cut, it closes quickly, goes away quickly. This obviously is a little more old school. You know, we have nail nicks, it's a two-handed job, you know, but it's cool, it's nostalgia. You know, when I was a Boy Scout, I carried my Victorinox knives. When I was a kid, I carried them a lot. and it just brings back good memories. So I absolutely love these knives and always will, and they're fantastic tools. What's going on, guys? So I had just finished doing my video on the Victorinox SwissChamp, and I decided that, you know, because I was showing the tools individually, which is great, it might still be hard to reference, and I actually went on to Google, did a quick little search, and I found this on a website. This is a quick cheat sheet, and I wanted to show this to you just like this, so you guys can pause the screen right there and have a reference if you wanted to as to where those tools are. So if you have one at home, or if you're looking to buy one or whatever, it's just a quick reference in case you forgot. You don't have to kind of, you know, filter through the video and find the exact moment I talked about whatever tool. I know sometimes that's kind of a pain. So there you go. There's a cheat sheet, or, you know, you can just Google it like I did and get a digital version of that. But anyway, I thought that would help. All right, see you guys tomorrow with a brand new video. Take care.